seconds spent on one goddamn logo.
Jeremy spends roughly 2.5 seconds complaining about a logo. And I'm only saying that because 2.5 seconds is too long, no other possible reason.
Also Disney
is an evil corporation hell-bent on monopolizing all the world's media.
Kids.
Jeremy expresses his disdain for kids cliché.
Also, this isn't a heat lamp. The turtle might appreciate the light, but I'd be surprised if it makes up for freezing to death.
This lamp is the Luxo L1, designed in 1937, and is obviously most famous for being the mascot of Pixar. While it wasn't designed to heat reptile tanks, it can effectively do that anyway because the incandescent bulbs it uses are crazy inefficient at producing light and expend 90% of their energy as heat. By the time this flashback is set, more efficient LED bulbs and fluorescent bulbs were already a thing, but I'd wager the teacher intentionally set up this tank with an older model lamp because it would keep Crush warm.
Also, between the Luxo Jr. cameo and the Finding Nemo shoutout, this movie is already in full-on Pixar Memberberries masturbation mode less than 2 minutes in, and I don't like any of it.
I agree with the sentiment that Pixar doesn't need to do this, and in some cases shouldn't because it's distracting, but the disgusting remarks that no one asked for, cliché, are an over-exaggeration. I'm sure Pixar wasn't putting in these Easter eggs for their own pleasure given the thought and work to get them in the movie. And aside from this and the chalkboard at the end, Hoppers is generally light on references to other Pixar movies. Which is good because I for one want the movie to stand on its own and don't need to be reminded every 5 minutes what studio made it. The scene could have been as simple as that.
I'm Mabel, and I'm gonna get you out of here.
Mabel's heart is in the right place, but stealing is stealing, and therefore my hands are tied, mainly because Mabel tied them up, so I couldn't tell on her before she escaped. F***ing Mabel.
But this is how Mabel is characterized. The movie knows Mabel is doing the wrong thing, but it's not trying to say that stealing is right. It's only showing you this to establish that Mabel loves animals and doesn't think about the trouble she'd get into to save them, which carries over into her adult life. Besides, I was a 5-year-old obsessed with animals once. I totally relate to her.
Hey, you! What's in that bag?
The frog noise comes after he asks this question. So why is a random janitor asking a random student what is in their backpack at school? Why wouldn't he just assume books?
What does the frog noise happening after the question have to do with the janitor asking what's in the backpack? He could have assumed books before the noise gave it away, but it would still be concerning to see a child carrying a backpack so heavy that they struggle to walk with it.
Also, the idea that any janitor gives two f***s what kids are doing at the school is hilarious in its own right. Hoppers doesn't school janitor correctly.
Jeremy didn't grow up going to school in Texas. Our faculty and staff are underpaid, but they still care about their students, and I say this as someone with multiple relatives who are teachers. Trust me, even the janitors care.
If Mabel's already in the principal's office getting full-on screamed at, she's been in there long enough to where I feel comfortable sitting the fact that this teacher should not have taken this long to get Crush back in his turtle tank.
No, I can totally believe that they would scream at her quickly. You cut out that Mabel did more than just steal class pets. She bit one of the faculty and caused the fire sprinklers to go off. That and the number of pets she stole, which had to be rounded up, are why it could have taken Crush a while to be put back in the tank.
You cannot bite people.
Citation needed.
I just gave you one. You decided to play dumb by making it seem like Mabel got in trouble for only stealing class pets.
I considered removing a sin for this great message about the value of being outside and experiencing nature. Then I realized how depressing it is. Such a message needs to be communicated to people in the first place.
Yes, you should have removed a sin. And as depressing as it is, people need to be aware of this message. Our planet is going through a 6th mass extinction event, and we don't even know if it can be stopped at this point. We should be appreciating the value of the wildlife we have with us while we still do, and doing what we can to save it, the way Mabel does for the Glade.
This special place montage, special places for all the some time.
Sinning this beautiful scene for any reason.
Telling me it's present day, but not giving me the actual year it's supposed to be. So I just have to assume this is the year of our Lord 2092. And then I have to send the movie for there being no flying cars or humans implanting their minds into the body of a robotic animal. Wait.
I'm not sure if I ever want to cover your Penguins of Madagascar video, partly because I know Captain Vader has plans to cover that one in the near future, but I know you similarly played dumb by making a ridiculous assumption about the year that movie takes place. And just like in that video, this is a setup for a continuation of that joke so you can milk more nothing sins. Usually when a movie says present day in a contemporary setting, it's very obvious that they refer to the year the movie was released, or close to it.
Gotta go, Grandma.
It's a Disney movie, so the main character's parent and or grandparent has to have died cliché.
I'm not going to go out on a limb and say you haven't used this cliche before, but I'd like to make it clear that this isn't a Disney movie. It's a Pixar movie that Disney happens to own. But I can see why people confuse Pixar with Disney. They were founded by a bunch of Disney simps who were happy to sell their souls to the company. Lord Mickey made Pixar his bitch and now they...
The idea that in 2092, walkie-talkies are still the most common way of communication on a job site.
Refer to what I said 2 sins ago.
This is very much a Mabel survives this moment, considering he was about to press the button to detonate, but also, why are they so fucking close to where the explosion will take place? Maybe it's safe enough with it just being a beaver dam, but why take that chance? Pretty sure a sharp stick flying at your chest after an explosion could cause some damage.
A fair point about the workers already being so close to where the explosion would go off, but we see Mayor Jerry stand at roughly the same distance when that happens shortly after, and he gets no sharp stick in his chest.
Hey, get off the beaver dam! It's full of dynamite!
The thing my college girlfriend said to me one night after we both ate too much Mexican food for dinner somehow makes its way into the script.
Jeremy makes a college girlfriend remark that no one asked for cliche.
Getting your Cartoon Network in my Pixar movie.
Sinning We Bear Bears. And this movie already has a lot of that show's influence, since director Daniel Chong made both. The Pacific Northwest setting, the girl in college, Bobby Moynihan, the inclusion of a brown bear. Hell, the design aesthetic is basically We Bear Bears in 3D.
Those animals are gone. They left after the resident beaver moved out.
And as clued into animal activities as May is, she should honestly already know this. This might be the most unbelievable part of a movie that includes human beings zapping their minds into robotic rodents.
Who the hell is May? Her name is Sam. Dr. Samantha E. Fairfax to be precise. And what do you mean she should already know this? This dialogue hints towards the fact that she does know this from having used the beaver hopper in the glade between the times the resident beaver moved out and when Jerry destroyed the dam. Also, you're wrong. The most unbelievable part of this movie is that a politician is redeemable.
Look after this place. Okay?
People who say things like this as they're dying never seem to realize how the message is likely to be interpreted. To a lot of people, she basically just said, if something happens to this place, it's your fault, and you will have failed me personally.
You know that's not what Mabel's grandmother meant, and it's not the reason Mabel is so protective of the glade. She would only be failing herself because she values the glade as a connection to her grandmother, who would still be proud of Mabel as long as she tried her best to save it, even if she failed in the end.
It worked! It worked!
But how exactly? We're going to find out it's not a real beaver, and that Dr. Sam is inhabiting it. So why is Dr. Sam sniffing around for food that a robot beaver would never eat, or probably even be able to?
Dr. Sam didn't come to the glade in this hopper to look for food. In addition to testing out a fix to a latency issue in the hopper's synaptic handshake, she's investigating the disappearance of the animals that she discussed with Mabel earlier. In fact, we see in her flashback later that she's been testing out her hopper prototypes here for years. So she's seen the progression of this area, and it's how she knew that the resident beaver moved out.
Also, Dr. Sam and friends conveniently test their mechanical beaver in the one spot they know Mabel will be trying to find a beaver, which is convenient.
No, they did not know Mabel would try to find a beaver by sticking out at the glade. All Mabel told Dr. Sam was,
I mean, you're stacking a...
Gotta go find a beaver. We live in Beaverton. How hard could it be?
and given Dr. Sam's doubt that Mabel could save the glade, she probably brushed off what Mabel said and went ahead with the routine investigation without expecting Mabel would be there.
Mabel is actually keeping up with a speeding automobile on a fucking skateboard.
How fast do you think this van is going on this desolate forest road? No one in their right mind would be speeding on a road like this, lest they risk crashing into a tree. In other words, Jeremy hung out with those bad teens in high school who would drag race on forest roads in their Ford Mustangs.
Dr. Sam, in beaver mode, elects to stand up and grab the railing when descending the stairs, a move that could only make her more likely to fall down said stairs.
It's almost like rails are meant to prevent you from falling downstairs, or something.
Dr. Sam doesn't notice this.
Yeah, and? This wasn't exactly obvious, and I don't think you of all people should be calling out others for what they didn't notice.
There's a simple explanation.
Thinking that the ability to zap your brain into a robot animal has a simple explanation.
Mabel didn't ask for an explanation about hopping tech. You cut out her actual question right before Dr. Sam said this.
What is this?
Mabel?
Dr. Sam, you're experimenting on animals?
I refined that idea, hired 2 like-minded souls with relevant skill sets, and after years of work, we've done it, Mabel.
Yada-yadaing a technological feat such as being able to transfer your fucking mind into a goddamn robot.
Based on more stuff you cut out, Mabel wasn't interested in learning about the specifics on how hopping tech works.
First, tell me what this is.
Okay. We call it hoppers.
Hoppers?
We use a proprietary mind-casting apparatus to hop or inhabit a lifelike replica.
I don't know what that means.
And don't act like you care for how this tech works either, Mr. I Hate Expository Dialogue.
This is like Avatar. This is nothing like Avatar.
It is.
Which is the joke the movie is making. You're just mad you didn't get to make it first.
But also, acting like Avatar is an original piece of anything. Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, Dances with Wolves, and Pocahontas have all ended the chat.
I feel like that Avatar joke was written with CinemaSins in mind. People like you are why Hollywood is so creatively bankrupt these days, because you've scared them into thinking that they aren't allowed to put a new spin on a movie concept that's already been done before without rebooting an IP, and even that's contentious among people. I honestly think we as a movie culture should embrace the influence of other ideas so long as they don't lead to copyright infringement. Give me Planet of the Apes with an animal other than apes, or Jurassic Park but with extinct Cenozoic animals.
We do not interfere with the workings of nature.
This is exactly what you are f***ing doing.
No, they're not. The purpose of the hoppers is to observe animals by looking like them so as not to scare them away. That by itself does not interfere with the course of nature, and it does not exclude being able to interact with nature. Also, Jeremy yells at the screen cliche.
Sorry, Doc. I'll bring it right back.
Mabel has never gone through this process of mind transfer, and yet she will somehow do it without the aid of the people who created this process and suffer zero physical and mental consequences. In other words, Mabel's brain survives this.
This technology is being established for the first time in this movie that is a first-time IP. Why can the hopping process not be completely automatic and not have any physical or mental consequences if the filmmakers didn't desire so? And wouldn't you be complaining otherwise? I'm pretty sure you would, because in my next video, which I halted production on to expedite this one, you complain about the shortcomings of a technology from an alien race just because it has capabilities that are advanced compared to our own.
Also, conveniently for Mabel, they had a beaver animatronic all set up and ready to go. The exact animal she needed to become. Science!
You are aware this movie is set in a city called Beaverton, right? Why would they not make a hopper of an animal this city is known for having a ton of?
I'm just gonna borrow it to...
Dr. Sam and her colleagues have also been able to imbue the animatronics with the actual animal speak of each species? Why the f*** is Sam still teaching science at a college and not a billionaire from selling this patent?
Because Dr. Sam knows that this technology is so dangerous that it must never fall into the wrong hands. That's why she and her two scientist colleagues have kept it to themselves and operate under the rule that they do not interfere with the workings of nature.
Mabel, come in! Come in!
Dr. Sam?
This magical earpiece that allows Mabel and Dr. Sam to speak coherently to each other makes the universal translator in Star Trek look plausible.
It can't be that complicated to put what is essentially a radio earpiece link into this robot beaver if they've already figured out how to understand animal language and transferring consciousness into a robot. Why have you been questioning this movie's tech backwards?
Quiet down, food. My kids need to eat.
Using "my kids are hungry" as an acceptable reason for murder.
I don't know. I feel like we're heading into a future where nations will be fighting wars over ever-diminishing agricultural land due to climate change.
Also, a movie with talking animals conveniently makes it convenient for all species to speak the exact same language cliche.
Jeremy invents a cliche that he'll only ever use for this one-time cliche.
The Glade. They're building a beltway on top of it.
I'm having less of a hard time believing in hopping technology than I am believing there's a word in the beaver language for beltway.
Since Loaf doesn't know what a beltway is, that word probably came out as gibberish to him anyway. But Mabel could have created the term in the beaver language as a portmanteau of two existing beaver words. Obviously, beavers would have a word that fits with the definition of way, and she could have used it in conjunction with this definition for belt. I'm sure beavers would have a concept for that, and therefore a word for it.
We do not use hopping technology to upset the natural order.
But once again, that is 100% what it would do. There would be basically no way to avoid it.
As I said earlier, the scientists don't want to interfere with nature, but they can still interact if necessary to get them out of a situation where they would interfere. Why do you think they have the ability to understand animals in the first place? If, for example, another beaver tries to ask the beaver hopper on a date, the human operating it could say, "No thanks, I already have plans," as a way to dodge any further interaction.
Guys, you should see this.
You better come take a look at this cliche.
Okay, this for sure I know Jeremy has used more than one time, and I'll just say that he thinks anyone should be perfect as to never be at a loss for words.
Whoa, look at all those species.
A person who studies animals for a living in their natural habitats is shocked to see animals in their natural habitats.
Did you not hear Connor using the word all? He's shocked by the number of species he can see at one time, which in his experience and reality is very rare to see in nature. Most animals avoid gatherings of two or more species, especially when predation is not involved.
Why are they all here?
Ellen, Loaf, or any of the other animals standing around act as if they're unaware of Mabel talking, but there is no way they wouldn't hear her question.
They did. They simply ignored her question because their attention is focused on the arrival of King George. These animals respect him so much that they're not going to break their attention for this newcomer who doesn't know pond rules.
How did he get a little crown?
That's your question?
As it should be. It's the most important question.
Which is why Connor would be excellent at CinemaSins. You played yourself, and this is the second time you've done so involving a character voiced by Sam Richardson.
With all these animals living in one little pond, we needed some rules to make it work.
Acting like different species of animals residing in the same ecosystem is something unique.
George said all these animals, not all these species. The situation he's describing on surface level could mean as few as one species, but the pond will still be overcrowded if there are too many of them.
Pond rule number 3. We're all in this together.
Pond rule number 2 is that animals can eat other animals if they need to. And pond rule number 3 is that animals must help other animals in need. So wouldn't every animal simply ask for help whenever they're about to be eaten?
I would assume that having to eat when you have to being rule number 2 means it takes priority over rule number 3. We saw this in effect when Mabel tried to defend Loaf, but still got in trouble because she broke pond rule number 2. And Loaf was nonchalant about being eaten anyway, so he respected Ellen exercising that rule.
Whenever animals lose their homes, the king invites them to come live here. That's why he built this crazy place.
Thinking you can build nature.
You showed the subtitles for this sin. Did you not read when the worm said, built this crazy place?
Humans just don't see it that way. They want it all to themselves, and they don't care about you or anyone else.
I think in their hearts, they do.
They don't. I'm telling you.
Be careful, movie. Mabel now having the physical form of an animal adds a bit of nuance to this message, but you're still dangerously approaching beavering me over the head with it territory, and I'll be damned if I'm going to put up with that.
Going back to what I was talking about earlier when I brought up the sixth mass extinction, the movie does need to beat people over the head with this message. We live in a world run by people who don't give a shit about the environment for the sake of progressing our overrated species. That's literally the allegory with Mayor Jerry.
I'm really flattered, but I'm married to the job, and I'm not looking for a mate. And not to mention, I'm way too old for you.
I hate to be the one that has to tell you both this, but artists on the internet are going to make you guys regardless, so you might as well.
But the beaver hopper doesn't have a beavers, so how could they? Never mind. You're getting 100 sins for entertaining the thought of that kind of disgusting art of characters from a kid's movie.
You can see why everyone laughed!
Because of a noise that only animals can hear.
Is it possible to have a noise that only animals can hear? Of course. Is it likely that Mayor Jerry could find the one specific frequency that would affect all the species in the pond? Sticking with no hopping wit.
This is something I hadn't even bothered to look into myself until writing this video, and there is some truth to Jeremy's claim here. Tom Lizard, for example, shouldn't be affected by the noise at all, considering that lizards have a hearing range more narrow than humans. However, this noise really only needed to work on beavers, considering they're a keystone species, and the reason all the other animals used to live in this habitat. And sure enough, it can. So I'm not going to add a sin, but I won't remove one either. I just thought this would be worth sharing.
Tell me where it's loudest!
Using King George as your own personal noise detector without his explicit consent.
Jeremy acknowledges what is happening on the screen cliché.
Making the speakers this obvious to find. I get Mayor Jerry isn't worried about the animals discovering anything. But what about someone like Mabel? Someone on the approval committee? Or another animal activist that might give a shit?
But it was not obvious to find. The noise is at a frequency above human hearing, which is why Mabel can't hear it. Without the ability to commune with animals who can hear it, she never would have known. Besides, who's going to notice this fake tree in this forest filled with similar looking trees? And the movie makes it a point later that Jerry broke the law by doing this in order to build the beltway across land that wasn't home to any wildlife, which is why a committee approved the construction and why animal activists would have no reason to get involved.
Mabel, I don't think beavers can climb!
This one can!
I like Mabel's enthusiasm, and while beavers have been known to climb angled trees or logs to get food, they aren't commonly climbing vertical trees, and therefore Mabel is getting a sin.
Hey, Jeremy. This isn't a beaver.
Mabel, or at least Mabel's consciousness inside a robot beaver, survives this.
You literally showed that Mabel jumped off the tree right before it hit the ground.
The Beaverton Beltway, getting you where you need to go up to 4 minutes faster.
I bet a lot of you scoffed at this line, but I also bet a lot of you aren't being totally honest about how much nature you'd gladly see destroyed to get across town 4 minutes faster.
Then just leave 4 minutes earlier, you lazy ass.
My dad tried to start a new family, and Uncle sought to usurp him. The Twig Wars began. Next thing you know, they're like, "Hey, return from exile! You're the king!"
Disney movie having a character use a previous Disney movie plotline that actually stole their plotline from another classic IP to explain their life story is the most Disney thing to ever Disney.
Again, this is a Pixar movie. Disney only owns it because Pixar is one of their subsidiaries. You want to know another movie that Disney owns through a subsidiary? Avatar, Fire and Ash, and you're not about to tell me that's a Disney movie when Varong exists.
There's just something different about you. You fight for what's right, you say what's on your mind, and you're not afraid of anything.
Oh, and it's also worth noting that you're the only beaver I've ever met that doesn't know pond rules, can't hear the sound in the loud place, and can't swim, but I guess you're just quirky.
George was talking about who Mabel is, not what she can or can't do or doesn't know. It's these qualities that motivate him to ask Mabel to become the paw of the king.
Mayor Jerry blew up the second dam in the middle of the night while animals were in the glade, which is highly illegal and means he almost certainly didn't get permission. Mabel should run to the authorities with this information, but she won't.
Of course Jerry would do this even though it's illegal. He's a politician. He had his crew work quickly to set up the extra fake trees to prevent the animals from coming back again so that he can cover up any evidence of the glade being home to wildlife, which would compromise the Beltway construction. And how could Mabel tell the authorities? Her human body is all the way back at the university lab, and she can't tell them while in the beaver hopper. Not like they would believe her anyway when she already has a reputation of being Jerry's biggest hater. Also, why did you add 3 sins for this one talking point? This isn't the first or last time you do so in the video, but I'm bringing it up now for 2 reasons. It's senseless padding of the sin counter, which further proves it's arbitrary in the first place, and speaks to you or your editing team on how inconsistent you are at judging how bad these sins are.
All hail Mabel, paw of the king!
Is being paw of the king exclusive to animals with paws? If so, that's appendagist.
But why would a beaver king choose any animal other than a beaver to be his hand? If the mammal king were a deer, the title would be Hoof of the King.
Humans have overrun your glade and driven its residents onto your badly overcrowded shores. Now you seek our help in reclaiming it.
Everyone with half a brain watching this movie already knew what King George and Mabel wanted to ask the council, but I'm glad they repeated their request for all the quarter-brainers out there. After all, quarter-brainers are the ones leaving the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes that other quarter-brainers use to decide whether they will see the movie, so the movie needs to appease them.
But it worked, didn't it? And I can tell you as a 1.5-brainer, I had no problem with this scene. Also, Rotten Tomatoes. Just like with you, people take their word as law on whether a movie is good or bad instead of judging for themselves, and I hate this centralization of opinions. I may do movie reviews myself, especially on ones I find favorable, but I don't expect anyone to change their opinions to match mine just because they like me as a content creator. In fact, I kind of prefer when they don't. All I do is say why I liked the movie, not why they should, and set any facts straight if necessary.
Dry land matters do not concern the fish rail.
That's drylandist.
Again, that's characterization. And the movie itself proves in a moment that the Fish Queen is wrong when Mabel tells her and the other animal royals why Jerry is a threat to them.
I think we're done here.
I know they can stretch to a degree, but how Mabel got that into her beaver pocket and got it here is beyond me.
Beaver pocket? Were you assuming that beavers are marsupials? Jeremy doesn't know shit about zoology.
Squish?
Oh.
Telling a bunch of animals that they will be killed and removed from their homes if they don't do something about a particular person, and then being surprised when the animals decide they should kill that person.
But Mabel is a human, so she didn't consider from the animals' perspective how much they've suffered from Jerry's actions, and wasn't expecting that they want to kill him, even though she didn't.
Nisha, what happened?
Nisha's response isn't, I just experienced death in another body. I'm going to need a minute.
But Nisha just experienced death in another body. She would need at least a minute, and probably more than that, before even talking about it. Do you really think you would be able to coherently tell someone that you just had a near-death experience right after it happened? Because I would love to take you bungee jumping over a crocodile-infested gorge and film your reaction afterwards.
Because I'm so tired of feeling this way. Like everything's broken.
Skip.
While I appreciate you not shitting on this scene, this is still a Jeremy skips relevant/emotional moments cliche.
Exit in 5 miles. You are doing great.
He is, but why didn't Mabel just tell him to exit at the Beltway construction site, which is what the previous sign told us was coming up in 5 miles?
Because typing exit in 5 miles is shorter than typing exit at Beltway construction? Not including the spaces, that's 12 characters versus 25.
Also, I can't text when there's a goddamn band-aid on my finger, but Mabel can somehow text perfectly with beaver hands.
Because unlike a band-aid, rodent paws are much like human fingers in that they can conduct electrical signals that a capacitive touchscreen like those on a modern smartphone uses.
This climactic sequence involving speeding vehicles and animals reminds me way too much of Finding Dory. And out of all the movies you could have reminded me of, Pixar, it had to be f***ing Finding Dory. I guess I should be grateful it wasn't Onward. Yeah, I hate to break it to you, but Onward sucks all the medieval-themed restaurant balls.
I'd wager it was just a coincidence. I mean, other animated movies that aren't from Pixar have also had speeding vehicles and animals, like Over the Hedge and The Secret Life of Pets 1 and 2. But if it was meant to be a reference, it's so subtle that I didn't notice it, which is why I don't take issue with it despite what I said earlier about not liking it when Pixar over-references themselves. And what's ironic about you bringing up Onward is that the black van the scientists use is actually the same animation model as the one used in that film.
I know the council said earlier they needed to get an apex predator to go after Jerry, but weren't there any land-based examples available? A lion, a tiger, a Komodo dragon? They had a goddamn grizzly bear already in their group. How does it make any sense to use a shark to kill someone on land?
The first 3 animals you mentioned are all not native to the Pacific Northwest, and Oregon specifically, since that's where Beaverton is located. And as far as the movie shows us, Ellen, who at this point is resisting the council on the side of Mabel and George, is the only grizzly bear in Beaverton, which is backed up by the fact that grizzlies have extremely large territories and are also notoriously rare in the lower 48 states. In fact, they don't even live in Oregon anymore, so that's an actual CinemaSin.
Also, great white sharks can typically only survive out of water for a few minutes. Because of their size, their gills rely on constant water flow. I point all this out to say that given how long she's been out of the water and how she's survived, it is all the bull shark.
Dude, you are literally being shown that the shark can fly in an animated movie where scientists have figured out how to talk to animals by implanting their consciousnesses into robot animal replicas. Suspending your disbelief about Diane being able to survive out of water should be child's play.
Just calm down and let me save your life! Mabel, he cannot understand you! Cross-communication does not work in that beaver body!
How is this some kind of big revelation? Did she seriously forget that Jerry can't understand her in the less than 3 minutes it's been since she was using emojis to communicate with Jerry? It's genuinely impressive.
You always talk to movies as if the characters in them can hear you. Don't act like you or Mabel aren't above complaining to someone who can't understand you as a way to vent your frustration. Hell, I'm doing that too, since there's a good chance that you probably aren't aware that I exist yet.
Jerry, it's me, Mabel.
This works, and Jerry doesn't immediately pass out and crash the car after hearing that Mabel is inside the body of a beaver.
Because Jerry believes he's dreaming, which he says in a moment, but you leave out.
Jerry, it's me, Mabel.
Mabel?
Mabel.
Oh, I get it. I'm dreaming.
What? No!
Diane survives this, and this, and this.
Triple sinning for the same offense. Guess how many sins that's worth? That's right.
It's me, Mabel. Wait.
George can use a human radio and perceive emojis on a smartphone, so he should have no issue making the simple, logical inference that the girl who woke up as soon as the beaver robot shut down was piloting the beaver robot. But of course, we need our third act conflict, so he won't.
The movie never says that the animals can't understand human language, only that humans can't understand animals or humans in animal hoppers. George just doesn't recognize Mabel's human voice, considering that they've been talking in their beaver voices this whole time. But we only heard Mabel the same way because the movie presents it that way for the convenience of the audience.
Once the council learned we had created the fake animals, they made us put the science to the opposite use.
Maybe reversing the process would be as simple as switching a few inputs and outputs, but you're not going to get me to believe they built a fucking Jerry robot in a matter of hours.
But they show the Jerry hopper coming out of a 3D printer, which was shown earlier to be constructing another beaver hopper. Dr. Sam, Nisha, and Connor have been perfecting the hopper technology for years, so this may have been a newer method that they were exploring to create them faster.
Turns out, if you have enough fake loud trees in one place and put all the humans right in the middle, the sound is not just extremely annoying, it extremely squishes you.
But who exactly did the Animal Council test this theory on?
They could have interrogated the scientists to know that, and they wouldn't need to test on anyone since the animals already know the sound is harmful to their hearing. So amping it up at a frequency humans can hear can potentially kill them. The real sin is, how the fuck does Titus know all this when we just saw him emerge from his chrysalis?
The animals got us, and it's all your fault.
Movie is making me side with Mayor Jerry, and I don't fucking like it. You could say it's turning us all having to watch this into madmen.
Haha, nice reference to popular culture because of the actor playing Jerry, but it's still unwarranted.
Main character, at their wits' end, sees the ghost of a deceased parent and or grandparent and realizes what they have to do cliché.
Jeremy invents a cliche that he'll only ever use.
Why does Jerry's hair translate to the beaver bot when he's piloting it, but Mabel's doesn't? Mabel's hair is far more noteworthy and significant to her looks.
Because this isn't how the hopper actually looks. This movie demonstrates that the hoppers physically appear the way humans see animals, but from the perspective of an animal or someone understanding animal language, the hopper is merely perceived differently depending on the human who hops into it. The hair isn't even the only detail that changed between Mabel and Jerry's beaver forms, as their facial structures also differ, and Jerry's has thicker eyebrows. Side note, I do kinda wish the movie had shown us what Dr. Sam's beaver form looked like.
Animal homes, human homes, they're all just one big place.
Getting this affectionate over someone plagiarizing you.
Well, George didn't have that phrase copyrighted, so he couldn't sue anyway.
I don't buy Jerry suddenly having the platinum-plated pair of balls required to do this.
I mean, it's more believable than him being a redeemable politician.
Deus Ellen Machina.
Jeremy misuses Deus Ex Machina when something happens suddenly, cliche.
Needing a conductor to assist in the taking down of a large pile of twigs.
Keep in mind, this isn't just a large pile of twigs. As we were shown earlier, the beavers used rocks and mud in the Glade Dam's construction, and it took dynamite to destroy it.
Also, they are able to get this dam taken apart in time to save the city from a raging fire, and that is all the beaver
They almost didn't. In the sin after this, you speed up the footage, making it barely visible that the animals used Diane to finish breaking the dam. Without her, Beaverton would have literally gone up in flames.
Also, luckily for everyone, the dam is centered exactly in the right path for the water to get to the city.
Well, yeah, the Super Lodge is upstream from the Glade, which is where the fire started, so this flood is following the water's natural path.
Ellen is putting in the work, but are there no other bears around? Where's Yogi when you need him? And how is Smokey not in on this fire-stopping action?
As I explained earlier, Ellen is very likely the only bear in the Beaverton area.
All right, folks. Let's clean this place up. I want it looking like we were never here.
I, the former antagonist of this movie, would like to announce that I am doing something to prove I am an antagonist no longer, cliche.
Jeremy invents a cliche that he'll only ever use.
Now I can focus on all my other ideas, and I have a lot.
Ah, there you are. I was wondering when we'd see the obligatory references that tie this Pixar world to others, despite the connection making little to no sense.
You don't seriously think all the Pixar films are supposed to be connected, right? I mean, the reference to Up alone makes no sense, considering the timeline of that film, since Up wasn't set in a time with Face ID smartphones like Hopper's. Not to mention the We Bare Bears design aesthetic of Hopper's clashes with Pixar's earlier works. You can't just plop a human from the Toy Story films into the world of Hopper's, where all the humans look like this. And the animals viewed from human perspective all have beady black dots for eyes, as opposed to virtually every other Pixar film. Like, why do the dogs in this film not look like Scud or Buster from the Toy Story films? Or why does Ellen the Bear not look like Mordu from Brave? Why does Titus as a caterpillar have different design cues compared to Heimlich from A Bug's Life? For that matter, the ants in this film also look different from A Bug's Life. So yeah, this is just Pixar f***ing around with the audience. Also, Pixar, if you do make a Hopper sequel, please do not wait 10 to 15 years to make it. I know audiences complain about sequel fatigue, but you have the opposite problem. Again with the artificial sin construction. And didn't you pass on giving a sin for the first movie when Megan was filmed in a way that made her look sexy? Why the sudden politician flip-flopping?